Hey everyone, finally I am doing another depth year update. It has been a long time. I was planning on doing one in April, did not do. Now it's time, beginning of June. So I want to start it off with a question that has been going around in my mind because I barely talk to anyone around me about my depth year in reality. So it is kind of an online thing for me, and I want to know whether it's the same for you. Do you talk to people in your life about your depth year? And if not, why not? Because for me, I think it has something to do with me not wanting to make other people uncomfortable. Like, I don't want people to think like, oh my God, she hates consumerism. She hates everything I buy. I can't go shopping with her. I can't do anything with her because she is so set on not buying anything. Even though, you know, that's not really, I wouldn't push that philosophy onto anyone else. It's kind of when you tell someone that you're vegetarian or vegan and it makes them feel bad and they have this weird reaction to it. And I think I'm afraid of that. And that is why I don't tell people. But anyways, I didn't want to start it with this rant, but I did want to start it with this question of, do you tell people in reality about your depth year? And do you discuss it with people in reality? Because I only do it in this online community, I feel like, at least discussing it in any depth, haha. All right, so in this video, I want to talk about the weird temptations that I have had in this depth year, what I've learned about my own shadowy sides and about my own relationship to buying stuff, reading stuff. I want to show you what I have been reading, because I have been reading more, thankfully. And I also want to talk about the weird failed plans, because when I started this depth year, I had some little set up plans that did not quite work out, but it kind of worked out fine in the end. And I want to talk about that process, as well as treating old things as new things again, and how I sort of managed to integrate that into my life more. First of all, if you have no idea what a depth year is, it is a time to consciously engage with the things that you already own, rather than amassing more things in order to inspire you or solve problems. So for me, it's very related to problem solving and solving the issues or solving the needs that I have with the things that I already own, rather than thinking that I have to buy something new. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, I'm also going to talk about where I failed my depth year a little bit, even though I don't really like that vocabulary and I don't really care that much, I suppose. But of course I want to be open with you and I want to be transparent with you, so I'm going to talk about that as well. My depth year also comes along with a low buy year. I had certain categories where I was not allowed to buy a whole lot of stuff. If you want to know more about that, you can go ahead and watch my first depth year video, in which I laid out my plan, all of the things I can't buy, everything I was planning on doing. I will link that down below, of course. So a lot has happened since my last depth year update, even though it doesn't feel like it. My last depth year update was end of February, and I feel like not a lot has happened because the depth year thing kind of runs alongside my normal life, and sometimes I don't pay so much attention to it, and then bang, I'm going to have this big realization about it or something. Also, I just realized I forgot to say this is just a cold sore. Don't worry, I didn't get in a street fight, at least not one that involved physical altercation. And yes, I'm just healing it, so don't worry about it. In the beginning of my depth year, I had the plan to take depth year time every Sunday, where I really engage with what I already have, where I pick up a book that I already have. And it didn't work for me because I wasn't in the right mindset. I was going at it in a very performance-driven attitude, and I'm going to make a separate video about my process with reading and how I have been starting to read more, because that was a similar issue. I sometimes tackle things in a very logical, structured way. I don't know if it was maybe similar for you guys, where you just made plans to have depth time rather than kind of adapting it as an all-encompassing mindset, or something that goes with you every day, throughout every day and every second of your life, ideally. What I really needed to do was to create more free space in my life, mostly by putting down my phone more, mostly by not engaging with social media in general as much as I did before, and by really permitting myself to spend time alone, spend time without a plan, and to just sit and read or do or put cards down in whatever way I want. And of course I had spiritual time before I started the depth year, but it was kind of becoming less and less. And the depth year kind of has shown me to take that time more consciously and to not just make it about spirituality or about laying cards for myself, but also about engaging with books that just come to my mind and to intuitively engage with whatever calls me to it that I already have. Whether it is playing with my jewelry, sorting my jewelry, decluttering a drawer that I haven't decluttered in 20 years, reading a random book from my bookcase. All of these are related to my depth year time and make me feel more conscious and more here in this world and more connected. Another thing that has really helped me is my safe action list. I will link the video about that below. I have created a list that I can go to if I feel kind of blocked, if I don't feel like I have agency, or I think that I have to have a plan or something like that. I have lists that I can go to with actions that will make me feel more tuned in. They will kind of get me into the flow of life and the flow of intuition. And that has been super important for me, because when I take those empty times, those empty spaces, sometimes I do feel a great pull towards my phone or towards doing something else. And having the safe action list to inspire me and to remind me of all the things I can do is super helpful. And I'm very grateful for the response that I got for that video, because I know a lot of you thought that it was a good idea and wanted to kind of integrate that as well. And I think that that's really, really awesome. So I'll link that down below. Okay, I want to talk about reading now, because this is one of the best examples, as I have mentioned, of my mindset changing. I will make a separate video about this, so I will kind of keep it short here. But around my birthday, which is in mid-April, it started to improve, the whole reading practice, but also especially in the last week or two, I have just come to understand the joy of reading again that I had lost before. And I'm going to talk in the different video that I will link below once it's out about what actually made my mindset change and what kind of made it click. Because as so often with me, it's just one thing that happens. Like either I organically change my mindset throughout time, or one thing just happens and suddenly it's different. And that's what kind of happened this time. So once again, it is basically about not scooting, not about drifting through the day, but about consciously engaging with the things that I do and consciously choosing what I want to do. The weekly reset has also helped me a great deal towards that. That's also a video I will link below. And as you can tell, the content that I produce has been kind of going into this conscious living perspective, and I feel like that kind of was born out of the depth year idea and out of that idea to live my life more in the present moment and more deeply engaged with what is around me. I wonder if it has had that effect on anyone else who creates content, where you feel like, you know, suddenly your content becomes more about these subjects, even if not every video is a depth year video, but suddenly it's more about this conscious living concept. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you other content creators if that is the case for you. Another thought that I want to share is that I feel very strongly that the depth year idea is born from a position of privilege that we should be aware of. And what I mean by that is that I chose some categories for my depth year that I actually don't have a lot of things in. So for example, I know that a lot of people didn't allow themselves to buy books, and I was kind of in the same boat, but I didn't have a huge reading stack. I had like 3 or 4 books, if that I really wanted to read. And then I'm like, I need new books, you know? I don't have this huge backlog. If you choose a depth year category in which you don't have a lot of things to dive deep with, that doesn't work quite as well as when you choose one, like for me, jewelry, where I have tons and tons of it. And it's very easy to go deep with it because I have so much to choose from and so much to appreciate. So this feeling has been cropping up for me lately, that it comes very much from a privileged position. Same as, the whole minimalism idea. It stepped to the forefront for me, that idea of minimalism and depthier stuff, or low-buy stuff, being born from the privilege of already having a lot of things to engage with. And I think that is an important consideration, without trying to make anyone feel bad. I am participating in it too. I don't want anyone to take this as me being like, oh, we're all so privileged, we're terrible. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I think it's something good to be conscious of and to be aware of. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on was to consciously think, what do I do with new things? Because I permitted myself to buy a deck recently, the Goddesses and Sirens Tarot. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen a lot of it already. And I had a whole process with that deck where I saged every single card, and then I pulled every card through rosemary smoke, and I had a very nice session with it of, blessing it and really engaging with it. And it made me realize I should be doing that more with the decks that I already have. You know what I mean? And I think for anyone doing a depth year, it's also a call to really think about how we engage with new things and why we can't engage with old things in the same way. Why can't I do the same smoke, sage, and rosemary thing with any other deck I already have, just to forge and renew the connection with an old deck? Why can't I do a deck interview with an old deck, to kind of check in where my relationship is with that deck? Why can I only do that with new decks? And I think that is a very lush and very potent perspective to take on old things, to figure out how you can engage with them to give them that new feel once again. Because for a long time also I have been feeling that I've been a little bit too comfortable with the card meanings, at least when I read for myself. When I read for clients or for other people, it's a lot different. I somehow can summon all of this knowledge, but when I read for myself, it's a little bit harder. And, rereading stuff from a book about astrology and tarot, for example, that I really like, has been very, very helpful. Oh yeah, I also wanted to mention that I've been reading more poetry and wanted to recommend T.S. Eliot, first of all, one of my favorite poets. And there is this probably not very well-known book by David Hinton. It's translations of poetry from China. And I'm going to go off on a 1-minute tangent, please permit me. In China, there were a lot of bureaucrats. This is all around between 500 and 1200 AD. And these bureaucrats would be so tired and screwed up from their lives that at some point they would either take vacations in the wilderness, or they would just straight up live in the wilderness. And I just think that it's so immensely interesting that this existed, just like today, with everybody getting bored of their corporate jobs, kind of going into a more natural, more spiritual perspective, that existed back then as well. And a lot of these poets have very, very intense but short poems about nature and about wilderness. And this is basically the book too, that when I wake up at night and I feel the pull to go to my phone, I actually get up, or I feel the pull to go to my phone during the day. This is the book that I pick up. I read a poem, maybe I read a little bit about the poet, and I feel 1,000,000,000 times better than if I had read my phone. Okay, let's real quick talk about the low-buy aspect. I haven't really bought any video games. My partner bought Zelda Breath of the Wild. We have been playing that. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I want to make a video about Zelda and the spirituality in it. If you're interested in that, please let me know, because I'm sure nobody is interested in that. But I kind of want to make it. Clothes, I have bought a hoodie that I have been wanting forever to support one of my favorite wrestlers out there, and I finally got that hoodie when he was in Berlin, and I am overjoyed with that purchase. Also some smaller things that I kind of needed for the summer, like shorter tops, crop tops. I also bought that, which is okay. I didn't tell myself not to buy anything, because clothes, that is definitely one of those things where I don't have a lot that I actually wear and can wear in my closet. Decks, goddesses, and sirens, as I mentioned. No jewelry, I was good about that. I bought one lipstick refill, but no other lipsticks, nothing makeup related. This is the biggest failure, went over with my food budget. I had a budget of 15 euro of eating out for every month, and I definitely went over that in May, but I also stopped counting. I cannot tell you how much I spent in May, because if you know that you are going over your budget, maybe some of us may have the tendency to kind of push that away and forget about it. And that was definitely me. I was just too lazy to keep track of it. And I was like, I'm already over anyway. What is the point of telling myself and beating up myself about how much it was? I know that I went over, and that is all the knowledge I need, All right, let us talk about temptations. This is my favorite subject because I have had two such strange temptations. The first one isn't so weird, so listen. A lot of you know that I love Harmony Nice. I love her vibe. I love her aesthetic. I love her style. Watching her videos, reading her book, it gives me a warm, fuzzy, safe feeling, and I love it. I love it. I have a soft spot for her. I have a soft spot for her well-researched kind of factual videos, because, a lot of people don't make factual videos about witchcraft because a lot of it is just UPGs or your own experiences. And she just manages to make these videos that are very factual, and it kind of scratches an itch for me. She made a video about pendulums. This is where we get to the fun part, where I thought for half a day that I really needed to buy a pendulum. Now, did I buy a pendulum? No. Am I glad that I didn't buy a pendulum? Yes, because I know that I wouldn't have engaged with it in the way that I imagined. This huge idea, this huge fantasy started building in my head when I saw her video of how useful a pendulum would be for me, and how I could use it for divination, and how it would give me these clear, awesome answers. And that is not really what my craft is about. My craft is about exploration, not about yes, no sort of questions. And I don't know why I felt so drawn to it. I mean, I know because of the aesthetic, because of the idea of it being a clear-cut, exciting new thing to integrate into my craft. But I knew when that happened that it wouldn't go over well, and that I wouldn't have a deep connection with this new tool that I would think I have, because I have so many other tools that I can use that I kind of am still building a connection with, and bringing in a new one wouldn't have benefited me. I know that for sure. But I had this very strong pull because I think it was starting to get warm, and I was starting to really get into the groove of spring and everything, and like April, I think it was, close to my birthday, the whole like treat yourself, engage with your spirituality more deeply, all of these thoughts kind of crashed in on me. But I knew it wasn't the right thing to do, so it ended up being fine. Okay, the last temptation is really weird. Bear with me. Maybe some of you have caught the drama that has been going on with James Charles, a very young makeup artist, and Tati, who is a very famous makeup YouTuber. Oh gosh. I really hope you peeps will understand. So this drama was very fascinating because it showed a lot of human facets and a lot of human emotion, and it was an intense experience to be involved in it. Tati basically disparagingly talked about James Charles, about how selfish, egotistical he was, not appreciative, not respectful of the older people in the community. the beauty community, that is the makeup community and industry at large. And wrapped into this whole scandal was Tati's vitamins. Like, she developed vitamins herself that are supposed to promote hair growth, help with nail growth, make your skin brighter. Of course, if you happen to miss those specific ingredients that are in those pills and then you take them, your skin will improve. But who knows what your skin is actually missing, what your body is actually missing to have glowing skin or long hair or long nails. You know what I mean? Either way, I just want to show you that I am critical of these things and of taking vitamins in general. However, once again, this came with the whole idea. Like, the packaging of her brand is impeccable. It is beautiful. And I felt so drawn to the idea of purchasing these things that are incredibly expensive, taking them every day, and the feeling of that, the feeling of taking care of your body, improving your body from within, nourishing your body. I like taking care of my body, but I don't do it to be super beautiful or perfect or anything. I just do it because I think my body deserves to be taken care of, honestly. And this kind of tied into that mindset. And it's a really weird thing that I felt drawn to this. And I would love to hear if any of you have had these strange temptations that are clearly tied to a whole philosophy, a whole idea of life or lifestyle that you feel drawn to and that you feel like you want to be a part of. And thus you buy something. And it made me realize, why can't I just enchant or bless the oil that I use on my face and on my hair, that I use on my face and my hair daily anyways, and just make it more conscious? And that has helped me a lot. When I put on oil on my skin or into my hair, I do it very consciously and very presently. Maybe I say a few words, just get some magic in there, get some affirmations in there. And that is the ritual that I really needed and that I was really craving for when I had the craving for those vitamins. So I think I will definitely continue to dive deeper into my depth year and into all of these fun mindsets about consumerism. And I really want to hear how your depth year is going, whether you've fallen into a rut, maybe you are not quite following it anymore, because a lot of the time I felt like I wasn't following it. I didn't go deep with anything. I sometimes just bought stuff, even if it wasn't on my list of not buying things. I still felt kind of weird about buying things, and it was all kind of muddied, and it was just kind of running in the background. But then when I sit down and consciously think about it, all of these interesting thoughts and messages come through. So I think that it is definitely a worthwhile exercise. I'm going to link you a lot of things below. Feel free to browse and look at my content. Also follow me on Instagram. I do live tarot readings more regularly there now because they are always amazing. And I wish you the best of weeks and the best of depth years and months. See you next time.